Greetings, my beautiful cuddlebugs. Welcome to Ramblings of a Book Dragon, where we dive into the warmth of good books and unravel stories that feel like a literary hug. I'm Allie, your host, and I'm thrilled to embark on another cozy adventure with you. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage, snuggle into your cozy reading nook, and let's begin. But before we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe so that you won't miss a single episode. I really value your feedback and book recommendations. Now let's begin today's episode. Today I'm reviewing Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood, performed by Evie Hargraves. We have another super cozy, witchy fall vibes book about a burned out witch who turns to her friends and family and needs to relearn how to trust in herself and in her magic. It's about a 29-year-old named Belladonna Blackthorn, and it's around her 30th birthday, and she's basically, ever since she turned 15, things have started out really wonderful for her. She was really learning all about her witchiness, but then because of past experiences with boyfriends and just life in general, she used her magic, but she kind of just lost her essence of who she was. Like, she works at a bookstore, and the owner of the bookshop, she really was wanting her to own the bookshop, but she didn't feel like she was really ready to. And it turned out that the owner of the bookshop has a son, and the son is taking over. And the son is basically a misogynistic prick who is just he's changing the bookshop because the bookshop is just very cute and old school, and it's very cutesy, and he's like, oh, we need to change everything, make it more corporate. It's kind of almost like in You've Got Mail, where they do things their own way, and the other side, the enemy side, Tom Hanks' character, he's all very corporate, all money focused. It's very that, except very not that, because there is no love story between the book owner's son, but he's very just ick. She meets this young man named Rune, and it turns out that he was going there to deliver this letter. Like, she was like, did you get this letter? Because you're supposed to be going to the coven for your 30th birthday, and it's all about them testing her to make sure of what her power is like, making sure that she is using her powers correctly, because if she's not using her powers in the way that they think that she should be, she could be stripped of her magic and turned into a normal witch and a normal human being. And it's all just very kind of weird. And the house that they're all in, it moves around all the time, so she has to use her magic, her witchy skills to find the house, and her mom can't help her. It kind of is giving Sabrina the Teenage Witch vibes with it, where there's some things that are just kind of just like, really, but it's a very cozy, very cute book, but there's some things that were kind of just very Sabrina the Teenage Witch elements of it. But she goes to the coven on her 30th birthday. She manages to get through to them, and she meets these sisters who are the coven leaders and the rest of the coven, and they go through her past history of looking at everything and being like, okay, is she worthy? And at first it's all wonderful, good things. Then they're like, oh, wait a minute, she's being selfish. And yeah, like I said, it's giving very much Sabrina's a Teenage Witch when Sabrina is having to kind of prove that she is worthy, that she is a good witch. And it's kind of just made me laugh a little bit with all of that. And then at first it's just kind of like, okay, what's going on here? What is going to be the situation? And Rune is there, and he's all kind of all smirky and handsome and tall and stuff. And one of the sisters is very much a jerk, and the other one is all very sweet. And the sister that's sweet is like, well, I'm going to help you figure out how to talk to the council and to the coven, and make sure to figure out how to help you keep your magic. And it turns out that there is actually this stipulation, because this is all happening around Halloween. And so she has 31 days before Halloween, and because of this, because she kind of stopped using her magic for really big things, like she uses her magic, but she doesn't really use it for big acts. And according to the covenant, is like, you're using it for basic things and you're using it for selfish reasons. So bad use. So she has to basically relearn how to be a witch, hence the name Rewitched. And it's all very much about that, with her learning how to relearn how to be a witch. And the good sister, in quotes, allegedly, I have thoughts about that I'm coming back to later, but she tells her about like the fact that, oh, everyone who was there is going, like, she can't learn from anyone who saw her past incantations, because they all saw what was going on, and so they all have their own thoughts and opinions. So it has to be someone who wasn't there, and pretty much everyone who wasn't there is all like dead or dying, and there's really only one person who is actually going to be able to help, and his name is Artorias. The only problem with Artorias is the reason why he wasn't there is because he's imprisoned in his house for killing his brother. And the reason why he killed his brother is because his brother was going to become the next coven leader, and they say that allegedly he did this because his brother was going to become the next coven leader, and Artorias was jealous. And then we meet Artorias, and he's like, and he's all this sweet man, and I'm kind of just like, wait, I'm going to come back to my thoughts later on all this, but the methods don't quite match up to what we find out later. But I'm going to get to that later, of course, because I know what happened, obviously, but I'm going to share my thoughts and opinions on all of this later. But Artorias is he's a sweet, doddering old man, and this completely takes her by surprise, because she's expecting this absolute horrid, evil man, and she has this protection stone with her, and the stone kind of just nudges her along and encouraging her to stay to learn from him. And so she has these 31 days to learn the five different levels of magic. And she also has her grimoire, and the grimoire, it will light up when she learns each of the different areas, and it'll set these different challenges for her to learn. And we learn, like, it's kind of setting her up for success with what we learn later on, and it's kind of just funny with that. And so she learns all about the different elements, how to master all of them, and she eventually has to learn how to talk to the dead and everything, and like air and summoning people and mastering all the different elements. It's all very Avatar. And she learns how to light fire. It's just all these different things. And then on top of learning all this at night, she's still working at the bookshop during the day, and she also has her best friend Ariadne, who is her best friend, her twin flame, and her best friend doesn't even know what is going on. She has no idea that her best friend is a witch. And she also is working at the bookshop every day, and is like, okay, so she's working all the time during the day. She's going to learn magic all the time at night. Her best friend has no idea what's going on. And I'm surprised that it took a while, but for her to burn herself out, truly. Like, she pretty much exhausts herself it takes a while for her to burn herself out. But her best friend is like, why are you always going out? What's going on? Why are you never here? You weren't even, we were supposed to go out for your birthday. What's going on? And so she says, oh, I met a guy. And Ariana is like, what do you mean you met a guy? We made vows that we are going to stay together forever. We are going to be spinsters. It's like, they're very cute best friends together, which is always very nice. But she's like, oh, I met a guy. So she puts the blame on our good friend, Mr. Rune, and Ariadne makes fun of the fact that his name is Rune and everything, but Rune is there as her protector. And they have some very cute moments together where Rune scares the daylights out of her because, of course, he's kind of like stalking after her and stuff. And they're slowly starting to develop a relationship. I thought it was very cute of them. But he's there to protect her from this guy, from Artorias, and he's also surprised by how nice Artorias is, because it's like, okay, he's supposed to be this horrid, evil man, and he's sweet. But the book is just very light and cute and cozy, and just for the most part, like 95% of the book is low stakes. But we slowly start to see that there is stakes beyond the fact that she's going to lose her magic. Like, there are some situations going on where she does a spell and the spell doesn't happen the way it's supposed to be. And we learn eventually that it is this situation called, it's the spell called Subfure Incantare. And it's someone is tampering with her magic. And we don't know who, we don't know why, we don't know what's going on with it, but someone is tampering. And we finally figured this out when she summons her mom to this, and her mom is this powerful witch, and she gets all excited at first, but then she gets stuck in this loop of summoning back and forth, and it's her mom's responsibility to get herself out of this loop, which she does eventually. But we learn about this, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Why? What is this situation? And we learn eventually that the person who is tampering with her is actually one of the sisters, because the sisters tampered with Artorias's mind, because they are Artorias's sisters. And it's my complaint about this is it went from 0 to 100, and I realized we needed to have a big finale, but it basically became, instead of building up, I wish we had a bit more of a build up, because like we sort of had hints of what was going on, that there is something wrong. But I kind of wish we either had a bit more of that buildup, or I wish we had just kept it to the cozy vibes of this slow build of her learning her magic, of her relearning. Like, I kind of wish it was one or the other instead of combining both. And it was kind of almost jarring in a way, because like 95% of the book was her just relearning magic, relearning to trust herself, relearning to love magic again. And even eventually she's starting to realize, I want to own the bookshop. I want to do this. And I was kind of thinking versus like, are we even really going to get back to the bookshop? Like, the cover is of her reading in the bookshop. Like, and the bookshop is barely even in the book. And I kind of wish that the bookshop was there a bit more. Like, it was kind of like it was just there just to be there. It was kind of just a thing as another element, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. But it was kind of just another thing for her to learn to be part of her self-confidence booster, because she's turning 30. And that's the thing that I really liked about this too, is that these books that I've been reading are about women who are 30. They're adults. They're taking charge of their lives. And it's not just, oh, these teenagers that are going into their own. And then also with this, it's not just her harnessing her power and becoming this great, big, powerful being. It's a natural progression. It's a natural situation of a witch having a situation. But it also felt very Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and not in a very positive way, if that makes sense, because it was very much her being judged on her magic. And I realized it was also because we find out that the sisters are very power hungry. And one of the sisters, she was told, the sweet one, in fact, was basically told from her childhood how special she was, how powerful she was, because she had magic from a young age. And she didn't like that her older brother, the one that Artorias allegedly killed, and he didn't. And that still was kind of confusing on how he had actually died. That still didn't quite make sense to me, because they said that Artorias had killed him by tampering with the spell that he was using, blah, 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 blah. But it turned out that he didn't do that. That still was kind of confusing with everything that was going on there. But it sounded like delusions of grandeur, as they say, that she was suffering from that. And she and her sister were really close to each other. And so they were basically helping each other to kind of take care. It felt like, it felt to me like it could have either been one focus or the other. And the entire thing of the book was of our main character focusing on her power. And I kind of wish that we didn't have the thing with the sisters, because it felt jarring when we found out that, hey, we had this whole thing with the evil coven and we need it was like with Barbie when we had this whole one focus and then it switched to this other focus, and it was like this whole smushing together of these two situations. It was a cute, very good movie, very cute, loved it, very cute, but it just felt like she was smushing together these two ideas instead of just focusing on one thing. And I get what she was doing with having this finale of, hey, I am a witch. You can't just tell us, you can't just tell people, you can't just judge people on how they're using their powers. But then if they weren't judging her on how she was using her powers, she probably never would have really realized just how much she loved her magic. She wouldn't have realized that of all these other things. So I see what was going on, but I kind of wish that the author did things a little bit differently, but that's neither here nor there. My other that was one of my big complaints, is just the finale of the book. I liked what they did, but I kind of wish we had, I think that we could have taken out some of the stuff that was going on. Like, I think we could have maybe focused a bit more on the bookshop maybe, and maybe just had the stuff with the coven as like a secondary thing, and maybe focus. But that's just me being a bookshop nerd. But I just feel like that could have just been a whole other thing that I feel like that wasn't really necessary, because we had the whole thing with the bookshop and we could have had her realizing that, and that could have been a whole thing in and of itself, with her realizing her witchiness and her realizing that how much she loved her power and how much that it is a part of her, and that is something that she is able to use, and it is okay. Like, she enjoys her magic, and it is fine. But that's neither here nor there. And my other complaint is more on the narrator, because she did a good job with the female characters. She did a good job there. But then with the male characters, when she was talking to Rune, there was very little, practically zero differentiation in those communications. It was very hard, very difficult to distinguish. And I hate that when there is very little distinguishing tones between the characters. Like, I know sometimes it can be hard to tell who is talking. Like, I know that can sometimes, I mean, I'm not a narrator. I don't know how that works. But she did a good job for the most part with the different female characters. But I wish that there was a little bit more of an attempt with the male characters. That's all of my complaints with that. But overall, I thought it was just a very cute, very light, very sweet, cozy book that was low vibes, very just low key. And you were able to just cozy in on just a Halloween type book and you don't even need to read it for Halloween. It was just a very nice book to read. There were something, like I said, there were some things that I found a little bit annoying about it, but overall, I thought it was really good, and I will definitely read it again. But I think that is it for right now. And as always, please take care of yourselves. And if you have any book recommendations, please let me know in the comment section, and I will catch you next time. Goodbye.